I'm here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on the call. I know there's going to be more people coming onto the call as they figure out how to get logged in and everything. But I wanted to let you know I'm very excited about this subject, the Trump tariffs. This is something that has personally impacted my own business, and so very excited to introduce you to Afalabi. And just a little background about myself. So I have been paying attention to inventory management pretty pretty intensely for the past year and a half. Really quickly, can I get a yes if you can hear me? I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Let's do that quick housekeeping. Okay, I got a yes from Aurora and from Tim. Awesome. Okay, great. So yeah, so I've been paying attention to inventory management pretty intensely for probably over 2 years now. This is something that I have found really is vitally important to a business, and we tend to pay attention to a lot of the forward-facing parts of our business, a lot of the things like you know launching and ranking and keywords and sponsored ads, listing optimization, product development, product launch, all of that stuff. We don't tend to pay attention to the more boring parts, I guess, of our business, the sales tax, the finance, the shipping agents, all of those different things that tend to not be as exciting and also tend not to be taught in Amazon courses that most of us have done. So I started paying attention to a lot of this, and it's really, it's I call it death by paper cuts. These little things that they start to eat up your profit. So you can make more and more and more money using all of these different Amazon strategies, but it's also about keeping money. And there's a lot of money that is being lost by just not knowing that other side of the business. So I jumped into inventory management and found that that was one of the places where I was losing the most money, was running out of stock, overstocking on product, and then paying for it in the way of storage fees, in the way of Amazon lending loan interest, all of these different things that kept my bottom line from being what I wanted it to be. So I developed a software called So Stocked, and essentially So Stocked is a tool to be able to track and handle all of that. So I've spent the last year and a half developing this software, and in the process, I'm able to meet a lot of different people, talk to 7 and 8 figure sellers about inventory management and the importance of inventory management. And that's actually how I came to meet Afalabi. So Afalabi is, I told this story in our last call. We did a call about coronavirus and what you need to do to be prepared for coronavirus, and actually the fact that you can come out of coronavirus and this whole mess that is kind of happening and unfolding right now across the planet. You as an e-commerce seller can come out on the other side and really, really capitalize on the other side of what is happening, and actually kind of have your business be bigger and better than ever. So if you haven't checked that one out, you should definitely check out that one. But the way I actually introduced Afalabi was we shared a friend in common, and both my business partner Dan Fernandez, who built out So Stocked with me. We both shared a friend in common. His name is Norm Farrar, and Norm is one of these guys. Say yes if you've heard of Norm. A lot of people have been impacted by Norm. He speaks a lot of Amazon events, and he's just extremely smart. He's one of those guys that the 7 and 8 figure sellers go to. So he knows. Yes, and Ron says Norm. Yes, Norm is one of these guys that the big sellers go to for advice. So when we were talking to Norm, and we were talking to him about So Stocked and where we wanted So Stocked to head, and how we wanted to be able to partner with sourcing agents, partner with freight forwarders, partner with people who could actually add a lot of value on this other side of the business that we don't tend to really look at or focus on, he immediately said, you have to meet Afolabi. This guy is doing things that I have never seen. The amount of money that he's able to save, the intelligence with which he approaches all aspects of the supply chain. The thing about Afolabi is he looks at the entire supply chain. So he's not just someone who looks at how can I get better rates with my supplier, or how can I, you know, do better in terms of categorizing my inventory for the tariff guidelines, which is what we're going to be talking about today. But he looks at the entire breadth of your supply chain and can figure out all of the different ways that you're actually bleeding money. So in that extent, from, you know, the mission that I went, you know, set up against over 2 years ago to really get this dialed in business, he really adds to that piece of the puzzle. So I wanted to introduce you guys to him, you know, give a little bit of background about how we connected, and just, you know, get ready to, you know, you don't have to necessarily take notes because we're going to have a replay, but really pay close attention and see how this could potentially change your business. So that's what I have to say. Afolabi, if you wanted to go ahead and unmute yourself and personally introduce yourself, you can go ahead and do that now. Let's see. Lou?
Can everyone see me?
Hello.
Okay, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, but the video.
Let's see. We need to. Can you turn on your video? Because it doesn't allow me to turn on the video for you.
Okay.
Make a host. Maybe I have to make you a host. No, I don't think so. Are you able to turn on the video?
No, not on my side. It says you have to turn it on.
This is very weird.
It says the host has stopped it.
It's really weird. I made you a co-host.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so now you're a co-host. You've moving up in
Hi. Hi, everyone. Great to be here again. Thank you, Chelsea, for bringing me here again. I'm excited, you know, to talk about all the things we have in stock today, and I'm really excited. Even though the corona stuff is just making us have, you know, not so good news every day, but I'm excited to be here, and we have a lot to cover today. So let's just jump right into it, right? Yes. Awesome. Okay, let me share my screen quickly. Okay, let me share my screen right now. Awesome. Can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen now?
I can see it.
All right. Okay, so today, Trump tariffs. How to know if you're paying too much. I'm gonna go really quick so that we can have room for question and answer, because I know many people have questions at the end. So that's okay. A little bit about me. I love finding things. I love negotiating prices. I grew up in Nigeria, West Africa, and my mom, you know, when I go to the, you know, supermarket with my mom, I always watch her, you know, she always haggle. So I enjoy the sport. To me, haggling is a sport, or negotiations, you know, negotiating with either with a supplier or whatever. It's really a sport to me. So I enjoy it. You know, I think of myself as a little bit obsessed, you know, with finding, you know, good quality prices on products or anything, you know, anything I can, you know, that I can save on. I go ahead and try to find it. Found a Trillion source, you know, and Honu Worldwide, you know, with Norman. I know everybody knows Norman. He's the super genius in the Amazon World. So really, really great guy. And I always enjoy, anytime he's talking, I'm taking notes because, you know, he has a wealth of experience. And so we formed Honu together to bring all these services to e-commerce world. Many things that people don't know about that can help them and save them a lot of money. So we, you know, sourcing, logistics, and so many other things, you know, you'll see it in the next slide. You know, I've been able to help, you know, many brands launch and also, you know, make a lot of money. Most of them are multi-million-dollar brands. I've helped inventors, you know, people that have product ideas and everything like that to help them develop their products. And we manufacture, we have a ton and ton of products that we manufacture and bring in from China and all over. And I've made a lot of mistakes. You know, I've learned a lot of hard lessons. And some of the lessons I've learned, I'm sharing with you today as well, okay? So if you see anything that makes you sad just because you've been doing things the wrong way, you know, don't beat yourself up about it, you know, just embrace it and just, you know, and just change, and, you know, it's going to be good. So these are some of my e-commerce solutions, you know, product sourcing and repricing and tariff clarifications and warehouse and fulfillment and freight cost negotiations, you know, business audit, soft price checker, inspections, monitoring, Chinese trademarks. These are all the really cool solutions that many people don't know about. But well, enough about myself. Let's jump into this theme. All right, first, some good news. The Trump administration is preparing to suspend, you know, collection of import tariffs for 3 months. We don't know if they will extend that or not, but it's to help, you know, U.S. companies, you know, to give U.S. companies financial relief in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. So that is some really, really good news. And like I said, we don't know how long it will last. We don't know if it's going to be 3 months. We don't know if it's going to be extended. But I look at things in two ways. You know, this tariff holiday, to me, it's a wake-up call for me to plan things better. Okay, so what does this holiday mean, and how can we take advantage of it? What I think you should do in the next 90 days while we have the tariff holiday, first, these are no-brainers. So you have to ship as much products as you can afford during this tariff-free period. You have to give top priority to your best-selling SKUs. These all boils down to inventory, honestly. These are the days we really, really need to own in on our inventory and tweak it really well. Who knew that Amazon could stop you from sending your goods into FBA? Right now, you know, on many categories, they're not even accepting anybody to send in goods. What this tells me is that I need to find an alternative, or I need to find a backup plan should, in case something like this happens in the future. So that we have to be on spot with our inventory planning. I know Chelsea would talk about that because now you have to give top priorities to your best-selling SKUs. That means you have to, you know, ramp up on that and ship it here before the tariff kicks in again. It's better to use third-party warehouses to store your goods, both in China and in the US. In the US, so let's look at it this way. So we have a lot of vessels like ship coming from China into the US now. And now that most of the ports are running a very, very partial, or I call it skeletal service, that means there will be a lot of congestion in our ports because there's nobody to offload this ship coming in. So a good practice is to probably leave some of your inventory in China. And the first thing to do about that is talk to your supplier. Talk to your supplier into helping you store these goods in his facility. And if your supplier says no, then you can reach out to me. I'll help you you know, store it in China, maybe for 1 to 3 months or whatever, a short-term solution. I think it's about $10 a month per pallet to store it in China. And once the ports open, then we put it on a high-speed vessel to take it all the way to the US.
Yeah,
So,
Bobby, there's a couple of questions
okay.
About this 90 days. Some are asking if some said that they read it was fake news, and others are saying they think this tariff is still due, is just delayed. Do you have any data on that specifically?
Well, I know that they're considering it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw it in the news, so I don't think it's fake news. I actually saw it in the news that any moment from now, they will announce it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the 90 days will change, and I don't know the day that it's going to go into effect. So I was thinking maybe April 1st is when it will go into effect, but I'm watching every day to find out, to hear the good news that it's going to go into effect. But
right.
It's going to be a very good stimulus package, honestly, for a lot of, Amazon sellers or e-commerce sellers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I know about it so far. But I'll just be prepared.
Yeah, so it's still in negotiations. So essentially the advice is it's still in negotiations as to what the particulars are, but it's a good idea to be prepared, because once it happens, you need to act fast, because everyone's going to be jumping on whatever occurs. So all the details are being rolled out.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
You need to tweak your inventory, whatever you're using. If you have so stocked, you need to tweak it now and just be ready. Don't let it catch you unawares. To not prepare is to prepare to fail. Let's all be prepared, okay? Whatever you need to tweak, you have to keep an eye on your inventory at this time. Many of us have run out of stock, so this should really, really, give us, it's a wake-up call for us to plan better. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, okay? So get ready to manufacture. If you have excess cash to put into your best-selling SKUs, please do it now. And we can store it in China, because a lot of warehouses in the US, are going to be congested too, because many people will start shipping into US warehouses. So there's an option to put it in China first for like a month, 1 to 3 months, and station it there, so that when the time comes, we can move it by high-speed vessel into US coast. It would take about 12 days to West Coast and about maybe 15 days to East Coast. Is there another question coming in, or it's good?
Yes, you just the 15 days. People are surprised about this high-speed sea freight. I guess that's not a known thing.
Yes. Well, many people don't know about it, but it exists. It's a little bit more money, but it's well worth it. Maybe 20% more to add it to your cost of shipping. But there is a high-speed vessel that goes from China to Los Angeles, and it's about 12 days. Wow. And then if you need your goods to come to East Coast, then we'll put it on the UPS truck, and they will truck it to the East Coast in 3 days.
Wow. Yeah, so the idea would be to do the math on, if it's a matter of missing the deadline for, these tariffs or not, then the high speed vessel might make sense. So you just kind of have to do that on your own as to what makes more sense financially.
Exactly. In case you're a supplier is backlogged with a lot of orders and they couldn't get it out of the country fast enough for you, then we switch it to high speed.
And this is something that's faster than ocean, but not as fast as air. But then it would be a lot cheaper than air. So this is actually an option that people should kind of, keep in mind, and it's good to know about, because if you're going to run out of stock and you don't need to necessarily air freight, you might be able to use this option.
Yep. And what I did,
separate lead time and soap stocked.
Yep. What I did was for the brands that I buy for, I created a new shipping turnaround, and I call it high speed.
Yeah.
For the shipping, because usually I was setting so stock, I would set my shipping to 25 to 30 days, but I created a whole new uh, 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 turnaround
Uh-huh.
lead time,
Lead time.
and put I call it high speed. So I would assign that to some products that I know are being stored in China, and
Yeah.
I want to move them really quick. So that's how I set it up in my system.
Yeah, and you might be able to store stuff in China and save, lower your storage fees, and
Mm-hmm.
then have a, say, like a 14-day turnaround for
Yep.
shipping. That's really great.
Yep. I mean, if you can put it in the maybe in the chart, and maybe a link to the video where you show people how to change that lead time algorithm,
Yeah.
so that we can include like an high speed shipping lead time in it. It would help a lot.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
All right, let's move on. So yeah, I just put a little shipping schedule for you. If you're going to ship by standard ocean, you order now, and you have to ship it out by May 15th. And during standard shipping will get you here by June 30. But high speed will get you here 15 days earlier, should in case the tariff grace period starts on April 1st and expires June 30, but we don't know yet. But whatever it is, let's just plan ahead of time, okay? If you need a high-speed vessel, let me know, and then we would arrange it for you so that you can get your product sooner. Especially, it's a good alternative to shipping by air, because many people have very bulky and big products, that the dimensions are very big. So to ship those by air, it's gonna take it's taking like almost 6 to 10 days now to ship by air, and you're paying 4 times. Why not ship it by high-speed vessel, and you get it, a little longer, but you're saving a lot of money with this kind of high-speed shipping.
Yeah, some people can't even ship stuff by air because it's too cost prohibitive. It just eats all their margins if they ship by air. Yeah.
Exactly. Especially if you have, products that have magnets or whatever in it, they won't let you ship it by air.
I have a couple of other questions coming through. I think we can answer these questions at the end. We don't want to kind of, we want to get through the training, but I will definitely get back to your guys' questions.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll definitely answer those questions, but we'll resume the
All right, cool. Yeah, there'll be enough time for us to answer questions in the end, but just put your questions. Ari is the moderator of questions. We'll get through to the questions later. So let's just run through it, and we'll have a good time. Don't worry. So, what are tariffs, anyways? Everybody's hearing tariffs and tariffs. What are they? Tariff is a tax or duty to be paid on a particular class of imports or exports. So the countries or governments, they make money, and they through these tariffs, they maintain ports through these tariffs. They use tariffs to balance trade between two countries. So if the U.S. Is importing more than it's exporting, it would probably use tariff to offset the trade imbalance. And that's the situation with the US-China trade war. The president found out that the US is importing more from China than China is importing more of US goods. So in order to compensate for that, he says, you know what, you guys, you got to be fair with us. You got to import almost the same thing so that we can have a trade balance. So that's why they put up tariffs, just to force China to start buying more US products as well, so that the trade between the two countries will be balanced. Okay? So I know it hurts, but maybe it's a good thing. Who knows? All right. So what are tariffs code? So tariff, like we said, tariff, they come in codes. So we have the HS code, which is the Harmonized Commodity Description and Coding System. These are the 6-digit product classification codes used by the US Customs and all other members of the World Customs Organization to classify goods for purchase, for customs purposes. So the HS code is a universal code. Okay, it is a universal code, not just in the US alone. Many countries use HS codes. Okay, it's they call themselves the World Customs Organization. And if you look at the little chart I have on the side, it is a 6-digit code. The first 6 digit is the HS. It talks about the chapter of it's just a way to categorize every product, the chapter, the heading, the subheading, and then the subheading. But I'll go through this. Don't worry, don't be confused with all this. I'll go through them one by one, okay? I use this chart as for coffee or tea. So chapter 9 of the HS code talks about classifies coffee, tea, and spices. And then to dig deeper, you go to heading 01, which is this right here. And that further breaks down the chapter, okay? And it mentions coffee, whether or not roasted or decaffeinated, or coffee husk and skins, coffee substitute. And then a subheading is the next level that further breaks it down more. So now it's narrowing. The longer the code, the more narrowed you're focusing on a specific product. So let's say you're importing headphones. Headphones can come under chapter 11 or whatever you want to, I don't know now unless I check. Let's say headphones come under chapter 11, which is general electronics accessories. Now, in order to find the right HTS code, you have to drill down and drill down and drill down and drill down to find the right codes. But I'm going to show you later, don't worry. Let's deal with HS codes now. So HS codes is made up of 6 digits and it's very universal. So all the countries that form the World Customs Organization, they use HS codes and it's 6 digits, okay? 6 digits. All right, then we go to the HTS code. Only the US uses HTS codes. And HTS code is called the Harmonized Tariff Schedule. That's what HTS stands for, Harmonized Tariff Schedule. Don't worry about the words. I'll break it down and explain it. But the Harmonized Tariff Schedule codes are 10 digits. The first 6 digits come from the HS code that we talked about earlier, which is for the world. It's a universal code. And then the remaining 4 digits is what is put in by the US Customs. So if you're here, you have been classifying your product by HS code, you may be wrong, because if you're bringing the product into the US, you have to use HTS codes. Okay, but don't worry about that. Let's keep going. We'll talk more about it. So the US HTS codes are 10-digit product classification codes used for describing all goods in trade, for duty, for quota, for statistical purposes. The first 6 digits are from the universal HS code, and the last 4 digits are added by the US to provide additional classification. Okay, the more you're drilling down, the more the product is being laser focused on. Okay, I'll explain better later. Okay, so this is the breakdown of the code again. The first 6 codes are the HS The first 6 digits are the HS, and the last 4 digits is the HTS. If you bring in something into the US. So if you're importing into the US, you will use the HTS code, okay? All right. Question of the day. So if 2 sellers sell the same exact product, is it possible one pays 6% while the other pays 31% duty? You can put your answer in the chat box. Is it possible if you and I are selling the same products, we're importing the same products, is it possible you're paying more than I am paying?
We've got some yeses right here.
All right. All right. Yep. Our answer, of course, is yes. And I'm going to explain later. And the difference is huge. And that's why we're talking about it today. It's huge. Or it could be huge for you. It could be a big difference for you. All right? Okay. Let's keep going. So the HTS system is like a legal document. It's how you interpret the codes that determines if you're going to pay more or less duty. I'll say it again. The HTS system is like a legal document. It's how you argue it or how you interpret it that determines if you're going to pay 6% or you're going to pay 30%. In most cases, there's just some weird situations that you just can't go around it. There's nothing you can do. You have to pay that. But I have some tricks at the end that I'm going to show you. Maybe you could use some of those tricks to also bring down your tariff. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. All right. Using incorrect HTS codes to import your products into the US may cost you up to 30% more in duties. So if you're ordering a $100,000 product, you may be paying $30,000 just in tariffs. And if you don't know how to interpret or how to find the best HTS codes, you may be pouring money down the drains. You might as well just put it out and flush it down the toilet. And that's what many sellers are doing. But the goal of this webinar is to educate us and to help us save, okay? We want to help each other save. That's the purpose. Thank you, Chelsea, for bringing this up, for putting this webinar together again. It's really cool.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, we went from 0% duties to 25% duties. So before we import our next shipment, we're having you look at this stuff for sure.
Yep.
It's scary.
It's huge. Yeah. And it's scary.
So, but we know it now. Now we know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, like I said in the beginning, if you after reclassifying your product, you discover you've been pouring money down the drains for a while, don't worry, at least you know better now, okay?
Never regret yesterday.
All right, 5 reasons you may be overpaying and what you can do to start saving instantly. 5 reasons you may be overpaying, okay? Let's go through them real quick, and then we'll get questions, okay? We're gonna do questions. So write your questions down, please. We're gonna go through them all, okay? 5 reasons. 1, you got your HTS code from your Chinese supplier. See, the US HTS system is written in English. Why rely on a non-English speaking person to interpret it for you? If your supplier gave you the HS codes, always double check to make sure it's the same with the US version. Yep. So they can give you all the codes they want. You have to match it with the US version, okay? They will probably give you an HS code, which you have to interpret and match into an HTS code so that you can pay a fair tariff. Number 2, a Chinese customs agent or forwarder picked your HTS code. don't let anybody pick your don't let any agent or forwarder pick your HTS code. Most of these people don't even know much about your product. They don't know. They just they do, you know, very, very lazy quick work and just find and search, and then they say, oh, this is your code. You know, it's deeper than that. It's more in-depth than that. And like I said, I have found it to be challenging for a Chinese-based or China-based or Chinese forwarder to accurately pick the right HTS codes for certain products. 9 out of 10 agents don't pay attention. And why should they? They're not the ones paying the duties. They don't pay anything. You are the ones paying the duties. So who cares? They just tell you, oh, you're going to pay 25%, or, you know, and
this is so important. Like, the reason why this type of presentation and what you do is so important is because we don't know. Most of us didn't start out doing any of this. None of us were, you know, import export specialists. None of us had ever, you know, imported from China before we started our Amazon businesses. So the reason that we trust other people to do this, we just trust blindly what a freight forwarder or a customs agent or you know, our supplier sends to us, because we don't understand HTS codes. So just the fact that, you know, we now understand it just based on what we've gone through the presentation so far, we can then be empowered to know how to properly pick. And then, you know, that's, I think, the biggest problems that we get into. The same thing with, you know, with your taxes or your accounting. If you don't understand it, then a lot of expensive mistakes get made. And so just understanding is the first step, and it really is empowering.
Exactly. I mean, I like the way you use the taxes, for example. You know, the taxes you're going to pay in your business sometimes or mostly depends on how smart your accountant is. If you're using an accountant that doesn't know much about the tax codes and all these tax breaks and everything, you are going to end up paying much more. So look at your customs agent or your broker as that too. He can make or break you. If he does a really good job, it will save you a lot of money. If he doesn't care, and if it's just, you know, you're just a transaction to him, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately. But let's keep going. Number 3, your customs agent is too lazy to research and find correct HTS codes for your product. Finding the right HTS codes requires a lot of work. It's research, it's hard work, and I'll show you why. You know, down the slide, you'll see why it could be a little tasking. I mean, most agents would never put enough time into finding the right ones. Why should they care to save you money? They're not the ones paying, you know, so they won't put time into it. Number 4, your Chinese supplier gave you a Chinese HS code instead of a US HTS code. So as defined earlier, HS code is different from an HTS code. There's a big chance you may be filing your customs paperwork using a Chinese HS code instead of HTS code. So if you're bringing your goods into the US, you have to use HTS code, and you have to find the best one that applies to your product. And I'll tell you more. Number 5, your customs agent doesn't care to know or understand your products. HTS codes are similar to a legal document. Your product may fall into 2 to 3 different categories. Having a smart customs agent that will help you classify your products into the lowest duty rates is key. For example, your product may be a wooden toy that has some plastics in it, and it's also an educational material, and could also be a sports product. How would you classify that? There's a separate HTS code for wood or wooden items or items made of wood. There's a special for plastics. There's a special for sporting equipment, and there's a special HTS code For educational materials, how would you know which one to use if your product falls between all these categories? Right?
Hopefully use the cheapest one.
Okay, so let's look at some real life scenarios, okay? And we'll have some fun with this one. Let's see. This is a real life scenario, okay, of some cases I've handled. So you can see how it all transpires. Look, now ignore the brand name, this brand name is not, I don't represent this company or anything, but the product I'm talking about is very similar to this product. So the purchase order was for $50,000. That's the cost of goods. Now, the supplier gave the HS code that after my client checked, it was supposed to pay 4.9% plus 25%. That was what the duty rates would have been based on the HS code that the supplier gave to this client, right? So I saw the duty calculation. I'm like, something is weird about this duty calculation. It was for $15,000 just in duties. So I'm like, something is wrong. Let's look at the HTS code. And I found out that, okay, let me go through how the US Customs assess the HTS code. Let me explain how they do it. So if your product falls into this category and it says 4.9% plus 25%, many people say, oh, that means my duty rate is 4.9% plus 25%. That means it's 29.9%. No, that's not your duty rate. Look at how they calculate it. It is brutal, right? Look, so they're going to take the 4.9% first and use it against your cost of goods. So your first duty calculation will be 4.9% of $50,000. So your first duty will be $2,450. Now, they will now add that $2,450 on top of your $50,000 and then apply the second tariff to it. See? 25% additional tariff is 25% off the first tariff added to your cost of goods, and then they assess that 25% off of it, which brings you down to $13,112. Now they will add the first tariff and the second tariff together to bring you to $15,562. Right? Isn't that a little
almost
brutal?
makes you sick to your stomach.
Yes. It is bad, but
but this will cheer you up. Next one.
Yeah, the next one makes us feel a little happier. So after we looked at the thing, I'm like, something is wrong here. They were using the wrong, they were using the Chinese version of the HS code to do this thing. By the time we reclassified it and found the better class to put this product, it was 2.1% plus 0%. So the first duty calculation was 2.1% of 50,000, which is 1,050, and there is no additional tariff after. Look at the savings, $14,512. This is a real life situation, right? Let's go to the next one. Gets interesting. Now, again, this product is not the product. I'm just to protect the client. I cannot show the exact product that I'm talking about, but it's very similar to this product, okay? All right, look at what they gave him before he came to me. The duty rate was 0% plus 25%. That means that's what Chelsea was talking about, that for their own product, the duty just jumped to 25%. Maybe they were paying 0% before, but when the Trump tariff came, it added 25% to it. So this is a product that falls into the same category. It was 0% before the Trump tariff, and after Trump tariffs, it jumped to 25%. See, so it was the cost of goods was $20,000. So the 25% of that is $5,000. So he was about to pay $5,000, and then he had a second thought and says, "Look, help me take a look at this. What can we do? What can you do?" So I found out that the item classification that they gave him was items of aluminum. And that was it. That was what his suppliers gave him. Oh, your HS code is item of aluminum, because the supplier probably went, hired some, recently graduated college person in China and tell him to go to the U.S. Customs website and type in aluminum product, and maybe that probably typed in aluminum product, and the first HCS code that came up, he just picked it, and the supplier says, "Okay, all right, that's your HCS code." But after I looked at the product, we saw that, look, this item qualifies to be reclassified. It is a display, it is a warning sign, and it is for advertising something. And guess what? Look at the duties, 7.5%. From 25 to 7.5. Total savings on duty, $3,500. If this guy's purchase order was $100,000, he will be saving about $15,000 just in duties. Here comes my next question. So seeing these huge savings, would you pay a good customs person to classify your products correctly? That's our second question of the day.
Yeah, guys, answer in the chat.
Yeah, I'll do it in a heartbeat.
Yes, he's cracking himself up. I love this. Yep.
Okay. All right. It even gets better. It gets better. Let's keep going. It gets better. Right. Why is it hard to rightly classify your products? Why the differences in HTS code, HS code, all those codes? Why is it hard? Why is it easy to reclassify? All right, so the HTS system is a little behind in catching up with inventions and new hybrid materials. There's so much gray areas in the HTS system that your product could qualify for 7 different HS codes. Which one do I use? So what we do is we find the best match with the lowest rate. Find the best match with the lowest rate. So these days, entrepreneurs are using multiple materials to create unique products. What if your product is made with materials that belong to 2 or more HCS codes? Which one are you going to pick? Of course, I'm going to pick the one that has the lowest rate. What if your product is a wooden toy, sports equipment, and an educational product? Like I said before, what HCS code would you use? Right? The lowest one. What if it has 60% wood and 30% plastic? Because when you're going into HCS database, it has like millions upon records. Now, if you're going to the database and they said items of wood, 0%. Well, my product has 60% wood and 30% plastic and then 10% metal, aluminum. How do I classify that? Well, I'll go with the wood. If it's zero, I'll go with it. All right. So let's keep going. Now you're thinking in your head. Many people do this. You know, it is what it is. But many people, or many agents, or forwarders, they're devaluing the cost of goods and mixing lower tariff goods with high tariff goods inside the same container. So far, many are getting away with it, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's bad news. We had our supplier, we asked, you know, we have this duties, you know, this tariffs that have really affected us. When we tried to negotiate a lower price, and she said, oh, we can lower the value and then you pay less in tariffs. And we're like, nope.
It's very tempting.
Yeah, I would like to.
Please don't do it. Don't do it. That's a better way we can maneuver in the right way, in honest way, and you will still, you pay a lower HTS. I mean, you might pay a lower HTS. I mean, lower tariff, but don't do this. You can see it carries a half a $1 million fine, and that's the end of your business. And even the lawyers, the customs lawyers, I mean, the people that fight for you, against the U.S. Customs, they are very expensive. If the U.S. Customs will flag your stuff, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. So many goods were impounded just because of this. And when they're impounded or when they're flagged, then you start paying demurrage costs. Some demurrage costs could be as much as $1,000 to $3,000 per day.
What is that? What cost?
Demurrage. DEMURRAGE. Demurrage cost. So the demurrage cost is the fee or the penalties they assess to you each day your product is still in the port. So if the US port, if the customs agency flag your product for further inspection because they're suspecting you're devaluing, they will not allow you to pick your goods from the port, and each day your goods sits in the port. It's called a demurrage. And there are charges that get included, that get assessed for that demurrage. And I've seen charges, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a day.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And so the fines are one thing, the demurrage charge is another thing. Let me type in, I can type in demurrage, DEMURRAGE is a demurrage charge, okay?
Yeah, I put in the chat, looked it up, said a charge payable to the owner of a chartered ship in respect of failure to load or discharge the ship within the time agreed.
Yep. And remember, they're holding on to your bill of lading. Until you pay that cost, they will not release it.
Wow, and then you've got lost sales if your stuff is, out of stock. Yep. Lots of that.
Yeah, you don't want to get into these. Please don't get into these. You don't want to get into demurrage. It is crazy.
Yeah. Now, what happens if if you've been using, I think this was a question earlier, if you've been using a certain code and then you change it, would there be an instance of getting held up in customs and problems with changing your code?
Well, the only way you could get flagged in such a situation is if you already filed your customs paperwork and then you say, oh my gosh, let me change the code. Mm-hmm. And then
Okay. So.
And then you try to resubmit, and then they will raise a flag. They'll be like,
Mm-hmm. So
why are you resubmitting this customs clearance?
So it's on a per shipment basis, and so
Yes,
change it within the shipment. And there's
yes.
no, and unfortunately, to my understanding, it is not the same as if like with taxes, you can do an amended return and get some money back. But once this is done, it's done. Like you can't go back and change your codes for past shipments.
No, you cannot.
Right.
You cannot.
Yep.
You can only change it for existing shipment. Maybe the customs agent made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And and some of these agents, they do know each other, on both sides. They can call in a favor and say, hey, I just submitted a customs for my goods, and the code was wrong. And this is maybe within 2 days or whatever of filing the customs. In those cases, they would honor it, but not. You can't date it back to all the shipments you had last year. No,
Right.
That's gone. You've paid those ones and they're gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. We're almost getting there. 5 things you can do if your products still fall under high tariff categories. So some products, they're so obvious. That okay, I'm importing Chinese rice. Chinese rice is Chinese rice. There's nothing, you might not be able to wiggle your way around that, but what can you do? Okay, number 1, ask your supplier to share the extra tariff with you. It will hurt him too if you cut your order volume. So it's not only affecting you, it's affecting your suppliers too. So many cases, I will go back to the supplier and say, hey guys, for the time being that we have this, tariff issue, are you willing to share the cost with us? Because it's hurting us. Amazon is biting into our volume. Amazon doesn't care if you're paying 30% or 0%. They will not share the cost with you. They don't care. But you can go back to your supplier and say, hey, let's share the cost so that we can, in the faith of good business, go to him and say, hey, would it be okay if we share this tariff, 50-50, so that it could be easy on us? And in most cases, most of these suppliers, they have their way of getting some sort of stimulus from the Chinese government. So he might share it with you, because it might go back to the government and say, hey, I'm sharing a cost. They have their way. They have their way in China that they can offset it. Okay. Number 2, find another supplier who will be willing to share the cost with you. If the first supplier says no, well, go find another one that is willing to give you a better price. Okay. 3, find suppliers in other countries with lower or no tariff. Go to Taiwan, go to Korea. I was about to buy a specific product for a client, and I found out that the Trump tariff is 30% for that product. But if I buy it in Korea, it was 6%. No, 3% in Korea. I'm like, geez. Even though prices are a little higher in Korea, but it's still not as much as the China price. So, that's another thing you can do. Find another supplier in another country that might be able to do it. In some cases, you might actually still buy it in the US, because some products, once the tariff is so high that the difference between those products in China and in the US or Canada is almost the same, and you get your products faster. You order in the US and you get it right immediately, like a week. But in China, you have to wait till they ship it to you, and then. So you know what? Maybe it's time to start looking into other countries.
Different ways to look at sourcing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you've got a faster turnaround with the US or Canada, your money's moving faster, so it can work harder for you. That's another factor.
Yep. I mean, I have some products that I buy for brands in Canada, and it's a week turnaround.
Wow, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah. So do your final assembly in the US or countries with lower tariff. This is kind of funny, but if you're buying if your product, you could buy the material in China and ship it over to Korea and put it all together, and it's going to be made in Korea. And you bring it in with lower tariffs because China and Korea has a treaty on some products, on some materials. So you might be able to get the product material out of China into Korea and do the final assembly there. Or you can bring it into the US. I mean, bring it into another neighboring country, maybe, I don't know, Vietnam or whatever, and have the final assembly from there and then ship it all over here. That's another way to save some money. Number 5, let your customers share with you too. I know some people are afraid to raise their prices, but I've seen brands they don't care, they just raise their prices, because maybe I know many products you can't raise because of your competitors or something, but eventually competitors will catch up too and start raising their prices because you can't, why should you lose money? I mean, it's not your fault. So let your customers share with you as well. All right. We're done and done and done. Well, if you're not sure if your products are, classified correctly, you can use, we call it Tariff Buddy. It's just $99. For example, you see the savings. In some savings, we saved like 12 grand. In some, we saved like 3,500. So it may be worth your while to spend $99 to let somebody do some digging for you to find you a really, really good HTS code that will reduce your tariff significantly. So reach out to Chelsea. We'll put in some link to reach out to me and my team. We would, help you reclassify your product, and we'll stand by it. We can even help you import the product so that you can know that we're not giving you the wrong information. Okay, so when you're ready to ship your product, just before you ship it, let us know. We'll help you handle it from there. Okay. Should we do questions now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do questions. I put the link to the Honu Worldwide so you can get more information about this. I'm definitely going to be utilizing this. This is the time to get this done is before you import your next shipment. So it's definitely something. And how long does it generally take to do, for this service?
Within 48 hours.
48 hours. Wow. Okay, good. Awesome, guys. Fantastic. Yeah, let's do some question and answer. We had a couple of questions. And then if you can go to the next page, I wanted to also mention the other things that we have going on. Because this is a series. So let's get to the questions and then I'll talk about the upcoming webinars. Let me see what questions we have. Time. Okay, so Chen Lin asks about turnaround on Amazon's end. So if you're working out your lead times, what should we expect to see in terms of Amazon check-in?
You mean when it gets to Amazon's facility?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of people checking in when it gets to Amazon, we used to say, okay, wait 5 days. It's been longer than that. What have you been seeing? I mean, if you're non-essential, they're now starting to let more SKUs into Amazon warehouses. But do you have a guideline on what people should expect?
Well, if it is non-essential, definitely, of course, they're not allowing us to bring non-essentials. For the essentials that I found, about 3-4 days. Was the wait for the essentials that I've been sending in. But non-essentials, I think we should just prepare for 2 weeks.
Okay. So, and then once they open up the floodgates and let everything in, we do need to plan for kind of the backlog.
Yes.
I know that Amazon is preparing. They're hiring a bunch of people. I think it was 100,000 employees they were looking to hire.
Yeah.
But still, you can only, they only have a certain number of warehouses. And so once everyone goes to replenish, it should definitely, I always say with inventory management, prepare for the worst. Your best case scenario is always your worst case scenario.
Yes.
So it's better to be early than late.
Another thing we should consider is if you don't already have a FBM listing for your ASIN, I think this is the best time to start doing that.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're solely relying on FBA SKU, you should have another SKU that is FBM. So that in case something like this happens in the future, you can start self-fulfilling while all these things are going on.
Yeah. Good. We have another question. Could you tell us the average price per pallet for storage fees in the US?
It depends on the area. In California, it could be as much as, right now I'm seeing rates as much as $25 a pallet.
Yeah, I'm paying 23. I was paying 17, and then about a year ago they raised it to 23.
Yep. On the East Coast, it's a little less. You can get 12 to 15 on the East Coast now, because a lot of people automatically ships to West Coast, so it's higher. But if you ship to the East Coast side, you could get 12, 15.
It takes longer though to ship, right?
Yes, unless you use the
high speed.
Then it will take about 15, 16 days to get to the East Coast from China.
Which might make sense. You have to just crunch the numbers for yourself. Because, all the different variables. Okay, good. And then someone was curious about the rate for high speed. I think you said it was about 20% more than what they're
about 20% more.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Check-in time. My main question is what is the easiest way to find the HTS codes and find the best and cheapest ones? For example, if I was sourcing something like a baby mat made out of silicone, or if I was sourcing something like a vacuum cleaner, what's the best way? So is it just to go on the HTS website? Is it are there any ninja tricks for how to find?
There are several websites. I think even Flexport has a website where you can check HTS code. There used to be a website by Pitney Bowes called Duty Calculator, but I think they folded it up or something. But which you can find on Flexport, and you just have to keep playing with it. For example, you're selling a silicone baby mat. So you can first check items of silicone and see what rate it brings you. If it is high, then you will have to dig deeper and say, okay, chapter is items of silicone. Then go deeper into the subchapter and say silicone, silicone for baby, products, or silicone for household products, or silicone for mat, or silicone for floor covering or something, and see if that one is lower. Or you can attack it from the baby side and say baby products or something, and then start digging down. And maybe you can use a generic name for silicone. Maybe it's a type of rubber, or it's a type, or you can, if your baby mat has some other materials, maybe there is a piping around the mat that is made of cotton. You may be able to pass for mat of items of cotton and other materials. If items of cotton and other materials do well, gives you a lower rate, then maybe you should consider that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, great. Let's see, we have a couple more questions. Tom says, my main question is, what is the easiest way to check HTS codes? Oh, I think we just answered this one. It was in 2 different locations. And then Dylan Smith says, if you are importing a complete product that may have 2 to 3 different products within one single package, do I classify the entire kit as one HTS code, or do I break them down the 3 items within the kit and separate and assign them their own HTS codes?
Ah, that's so good. So if you're bundling product, and each of the items inside your bundle has different HTS code. Oh, nice one. That's a good one. Normally you would, since they are individual products, you have to include all the HTS codes for each of the product, because they're not attached together, so they're all individual. So normally you have to declare for each one of those. But look at a kids puzzle. Let's say you're selling a kids puzzle, and the puzzle is wooden, but the puzzle base or the puzzle mat is made of wood, and then the puzzle pieces is made of plastic, but yet it's one single product. So that's a good one. That's a good one. I have to think about it. Can you send me like an email? I have to think about that, but that's a really good question.
Mind bender.
Huh?
The mind bender. Yeah, Dylan, if you go ahead and reach out to Afolabi, I'm sure that he can, also with having the, what is the actual product, it becomes a lot easier to kind of
yes, you might.
The product is, because if you've got, some people have a product where they have the main product and then they have little bonus items.
Yes.
And some people have where it's literally just, it's a bundle where it's like you get this and you get this, and they're all kind of very substantial items. So it kind of probably depends on, the
I know now.
Oh.
So if you have that, you would have to go by purpose classification or application classification.
Mm-hmm.
So you could use application based on, is it a toy, or is it a educational material, or is it a advertising display, is it a road sign, or whatever it is. So maybe the best way is to classify them by purpose rather than by material constituents.
Yeah, that's cool. You're right.
So like a survival kit that has a flashlight and a knife and a compass.
Mm-hmm. So you go into hunting.
Yeah.
You can classify them as a survival or hunting a product, or outdoor accessories.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay, great. So we have a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. And I do have a special offer for all of you guys who did stay to the end. So just, hang tight and I'll share that with you. Do you offer FBM via 3PL fulfillment in the US, you personally?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Easy answer. So
but you have to remember I'm on the East Coast.
On the East Coast. Okay.
Not on the West. So
for now, and you may expand your empire down the road, but like you said, it's cheaper.
Yeah, East Coast is now becoming cheaper. But if Amazon is telling you to send your products back to West Coast, then it becomes a little pricey again, to be sending FBA back to FBA West Coast, or they're telling you to send it to Dallas when you're storing your products in East Coast. I hate that how that happens, but sometimes it happens. So you have to consider, maybe you test a little bit first. Maybe you ship some on the East Coast to be stored. Or no. Before you even ship it, just change your, add another address to your seller central and put in an East Coast address that's where you're shipping from, and see what warehouse is going to tell you to ship it to. If it tells you to ship it to another East Coast warehouse, then it's good.
Awesome. Good. And then, okay, is there a certain percentage to meet before we can reclassify a material from one to another?
That I know of, no.
Okay.
Those are the loopholes.
Yeah, they don't define.
Yeah, they don't go by percentage, because that's a awesome question, because your product may be 90% aluminum and 10% plastic or whatever, and plastic may be cheaper or something. So right now that I know of, I don't know of breaking it down to the granular thing at the moment.
Afolabi, you mentioned earlier, this is Ari, by the way. You mentioned earlier, if your supplier tries to convince you to devalue the shipment for customs, there's like a $500,000 fine. Is there any kind of penalty or fine for using the wrong HTS or HS codes?
That's a good question. And if you I like that.
Like if it's
I want to answer it in a nice way.
Right.
Innocently, if you innocently just use a wrong code, then you can, your agent can file an amendment, should in case the customs says, if they flag you. Now they rarely check, the customs rarely check. There's millions of containers coming into the US every week.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I could imagine
there's no way.
If it's a blatant or flagrant violation, like for example, that sign, it was 100% aluminum, and then if you said it was made of wood, that would be
well, yeah, and at that point, that's the same point of, the way that I look at with sales tax. If you are collecting sales tax and not remitting, you're stealing from the U.S. government. It's the same thing. If you're, blatantly lying about your HTS codes,
yes,
considering stealing from the U.S. government.
Yes, I believe they will penalize.
Yeah, so definitely don't mess with, trying to
penalize
over.
Even if you do it by error, they can still tell you they don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They will say that means your customs agent, or they can go after your customs agent and revoke its license.
Yeah. So that's probably your customs agent will want to be on board with.
Yep.
Doing.
Yep. They can revoke a license and say, look, what were you doing? You've obviously been doing. Obviously, you don't know the products you're bringing in.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But they do spot check. Like right now, I have some baby products that were supposed to leave very soon, and the shipper is telling me, the customer told me that the shipper is not wanting to ship the baby product just because the baby products do raise flags.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, the part he didn't tell me, I know. So the part he forgot to tell me is that they were about to mix that baby product with a lower tariff product in the same container. And they don't want to be flagged. So because if they're flagged, then the customs will be forced to open the container and really do a real check and examination.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was why they asked me that question just this morning, actually.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. All right, this has been amazing. So we do have some upcoming webinars. Our Seller Secrets series that we do is with Afolabi, continuing to share and I'm gonna, let me start my video. continuing to share just amazing content. We've got one coming up that's shipping hacks that could save you thousands. And then another one called how to effectively negotiate with suppliers. So those happen every 2 weeks. So we'll have Afolabi back with us 2 weeks from now. Next week, I've got a presentation called Pro Amazon Inventory Secrets to Increase Your Bottom Line. So these are things that I've learned over time that really affect the way that you order inventory, the way that you track inventory. They affect your stock outs, they affect your storage fees. So I'll be sharing that next week, and that's at sostock.com/inventory secrets. You can register for the next webinar with Afolabi at sostock.com/seller secrets. And then if you can switch to the final slide, I did promise that I was going to give you guys something. Wow. Right, let me first put in this seller sostock/seller secrets. This is for Afolabi, what I'm putting in the chat here. Okay. And then for the inventory secrets. Okay, and so this final thing, so this is something that I'm offering. I've never offered this before. I'm offering it just for the duration of this webinar, and it'll be up for another hour, I believe. And what this is a free trial to our SoStocked inventory management software. I have never offered a free trial before, and the reason that we haven't offered a free trial is we just can't handle mass free trials right now. I am personally introducing everyone to the software. I'm doing inventory management coaching session with everyone who gets onto SoStocked. It's very new, and a lot of feedback that we're getting developing out this software. So I'm offering free trials to everyone who is on this webinar, and this page will go down at the end of about an hour from now. So it's a software that I've built out. We've taken the last year and a half with my business partner, Dan. It removes sales spikes, it removes stock outs, it factors in seasonality. You can factor in seasonality, lightning deals, track all of your orders and transfers, get reorder alerts, and track all of your inventory from FBA to your third-party warehouses to everything you have on order. And it's what I found that I needed to be able to run my business. So SoStocked was what I came up with, and what I actually had to develop for that purpose. And I know Afolabi has introduced a lot of people to this software. If you have any wise words about this?
Well, first I'm jealous because I didn't get this kind of deal.
Yeah, like I said, we haven't offered this. This is the first time we've ever offered a free trial, and it's very limited. So
I know we're talking about tariffs, but you know, I'm tempted to say, can you roll back some of the brands that I brought? I roll them back into the 30-day free trial. Another thing I found that it's happening right now, what this whole virus thing and what Amazon is doing now, if you do not track your inventory correctly, now your products are going to be some in China and some in East Coast and some in West Coast. Now it's almost like if we're not on top of our inventory management, it's going to be almost impossible to avoid stock outs. Mm-hmm. Because and also when you're creating work orders for your supplier to ship via high-speed boat or whatever, it will be, this is a collaboration. What I use SoStock for is more of a collaboration with suppliers and with shippers, you know, because it can easily move a work order to your warehouse in China and tell them, hey, put this on high-speed boat. Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, do this, do that, you know, because it's like I don't know if that's what Chelsea built it for, but that's what I use it for. It's more, for me, it's like a collaboration of all the entities, all the different parts of the logistics they come in together, and you can easily push work orders.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know what work orders is, whatever you want somebody to do for you, you just push it to them from this platform and say, look, can you bundle up 8 boxes or 7 pallets or whatever, and please push it to LA warehouse or push it to East Coast warehouse, and when they get it, they will scan it into their inventory that you've got it. So with all this craziness going on from Amazon side, this is good. This is good. And even the monthly, how much is the monthly still, even after the 30-day runs out?
Yeah, the monthly is $59 for life. That's no matter
Yep.
whether you're how many sales you do, no matter how many features we add, and that's a very limited thing. We're going to be, when we do launch and when we do our free trials and we do kind of roll this out as a normal, it's going to be the bottom rung will probably be 97, and then it'll tier up to probably about $400 per month, based on how much you're moving, how much inventory you're actually moving. So
yeah, I'm jealous, but we'll have to talk in private. So yeah, this is cool. This is cool. I use it. So I for all the brands that I represent, I use it. So the moment I was told about this, I jumped on immediately.
Yep.
Immediately. I mean, I tried it out. I mean, even though they said it was a beta version, I just, I'm like, I've tried. I don't want to mention other software that I tried, but so far, this has solved all my problems, all my nightmares. So
people try softwares, inventory management softwares, they go back to Excel. And so we answered that question of, well,
Yep.
why are people going back to Excel? And we realized, it's got to be fully customizable. It's got to be fully understandable. We have to be able to do what people are doing on Excel, only do it better, make it more automated, and have more visibility. And so that's what we did, is really, how are people managing their software? We've worked with 7- and 8-figure, sellers, and really gotten from them, what is it that they are doing? What are they looking at? Basically crowdsourcing information. We've had multiple, extremely successful sellers share their Excel spreadsheets with us. And so we've been able to take the best of everyone's systems and build it into the software. And that's kind of the approach that we took, was, let's crowdsource this information and get the best of the best to give us feedback. And we're still developing it out. We're still building it out. But,
I mean, after 30 days, is it month to month?
Yeah, month to month.
Okay. I was surprised that I was talking to a brand owner. They just started using my logistics, and they do like 11 million a year, and they're still using Excel.
Yep. Because there is software out there that does what Excel does, until now, I want to say. Yep.
And can someone have multiple? I mean, can people bring multiple brands? Because I see many people have many brands. How does that work?
So if you have multiple brands that we do US and UK for one account. If you have multiple brands, you can add the multiple brands. If depending on how many multiple brands you have, you might reach out and contact us. We might be able to kind of give you a rate on the multiple brands that you have. But it actually has to be your, separate individual businesses. It can't be like a friend's business. It's
exactly.
But you can link the accounts, similar. You can toggle between them, similar to the way that Amazon allows you to do that. And that price is, the $59 a month. After that, Paul asked, yes, it's locked in for life. That's kind of why we're doing this. Is these people who are coming on board early on in this process are early adopters, I say, and y'all get the discounted price forever, no matter how big you grow, no matter how big we grow.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I really want to say thank you, Chelsea, for this, because building a software is not easy.
Mm.
And my guys tell me all the time that they really, really like it.
Good. I'm really glad. I mean, it literally has been a year and a half in the making on this thing.
They like it.
We had no idea. You know, I met Dan about almost 2 years ago. And when we first started to do this, you know, we started in April, and he said, we'll have it ready in October, you know, and then October rolled by, and then another year rolled by. Like, oh, wow. Okay. There's a lot of little, you know, there's a lot of intricacy. Paul asked what the privacy policy is. We don't share any of your data. You know, all of that is 100% yours. There is, you know, no reason for us to share any of your data or information ever. I personally, the way that I look at it is, you know, SoStocked is, you know, going to be the thing that's going to, you know, where I'm kind of planting my flag. So even though I am a seller myself, SoStocked is my future, and that's, you know, it's been an obsession of mine. So that's, you know, the integrity of SoStocked is of utmost importance to me. So your privacy is definitely of utmost importance.
Chelsea, you may not know about this, so I have a secret for you. So in our warehouses, what we do with SoStocked is, you know, when you need a quick count of your inventory and you just don't know, you don't have the time to count it. So what we do is we go and start reconciling all the shipments that leave from each of the warehouses, and we say, okay, from warehouse A, let's reconcile the shipment. There you go. That's all we have in the warehouse. you know, because we you know, once you, I don't know, let me explain what reconciling means in case, you know, we have people that don't use this. So, you know, when you send your shipment to Amazon and Amazon receives it on the other end in the FBA warehouse, what this software does is when you click on reconcile, it's going to subtract all the quantity you sent from your warehouse. Is going to take it out automatically. So your warehouse inventory is going to be very accurate, because, you know, then I don't have to recount, because I do cycle counts all the time, and it's a lot of money to, you know, I have guys doing cycle counts all, you know, every month. But now, since we started using this, it was so easy for us to just reconcile. Once you push the reconcile button, I already know what's in the warehouse. I don't have to spend another week or two to be cycle counting every time. So that's my secret.
Awesome. Yeah, we track all of that. You know, the more that you get into inventory management, the more that, you know, that's why it took us so long, because we'd get people in and they'd need certain things, and we just add on more and more features, because all of these other softwares didn't have these features, you know. So, you know, I don't want to kind of belabor the point. You know, if you are looking for a solution, this is, you know, we're doing this free trial, and we don't often offer this. We're never, you know, we're not at the point of being able to blast out, because if we did blast this out, this free trial, we would have a ton of people on. And we, you know, I'm personally doing consulting on inventory management and getting you, you know, set up, answering all your questions, getting your system set up, your inventory management and tracking system set up personally. We'll have a personal call with me. And I just can't do that at this point with everybody. So until we get our machine built to be able to not have me have to do that, we're not going to offer a broad free trial. So it's only the people who are on the webinar who will get this. And hopefully, you know, it's something that makes sense for you. And then hopefully I get to meet you and, you know, help your business. And other than that, I will, we'll see you on the next call. Thanks so much, Afolabi. We, you know, again, you always give us pearls of wisdom. Everybody loves you, and your data is so valuable. So thanks so much for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right.
I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Okay.